I'm very happy to be here today. First of all, I'd like to thank the Gallery Committee for their support, to Amelia and her staff for an amazingly produced exhibition, and I'd like to thank my wife, Valentina, for her support, and to my family. All right, so enough with the formalities. So let's start. So I'd like to start at the beginning. It's always good to start at the beginning, but you could start at the end. I'm choosing the beginning today. So I was born in New York City, in the French hospital, and the first day I was born, I actually did a work of art, a print of my foot. So I was drawing constantly. At the age of 10, I was constantly drawing to the stain of the nuns. I did Babe Ruth at 10, and I was building and painting models constantly. You know, this was my best friend. Anywhere, textbooks, papers, anywhere. I mean, literature. I was barely paying attention in school. It was my way out of school in a way. At 17, I did this watercolor, this seascape, and of course I started copying Delacroix. A couple of years later, I entered the City College of New York School of Architecture, and obviously I started designing buildings. So I did this field house with the City College of New York. This is ink and Prismacolor. Below it is just ink. So I did get a lot of experience with pictographs. This is Police Athletic League Center. I can't remember where the site was, but anyway, these are the floor plans, and here on the lower section, other sections, and then the elevations. So I did want to do more painting, especially rendering, architectural rendering. So I started taking this painting class at City with Charles Myers. So I painted just buildings of Frank Lloyd Wright, famous Frank Lloyd Wright buildings. I think this is the Roby House. It's been a while. I started, for some strange reason, I always had this in the back of my head, I think, of doing this double imagery idea. So I did one, and it wasn't too successful. So my professor, Professor Myers, pointed me towards Yaakov Again, an Israeli artist, and he was doing these double images paintings, polymorphic paintings. So I decided to try one, but realistically. So this is one of my first, now I call them multi-view because they're realistic. So this is Paradise. It's a monk who's meditating into a state of bliss. The bliss is denoted on the right by a forest, and from the middle image you have him writing something in the book with the branch. He's using the branch as a writing instrument. And so I was hooked. So career-wise, I graduated from the City College of New York with a Bachelor of Architecture, and then I started designing stores for Woolworth. Started designing Foot Locker and Champ stores. That was 2.5 years. In those 2.5 years, I had to commute back and forth from Queens to Lower Manhattan for about 2 hours, maybe a little shy of 2 hours. So I entered the New York City Subway Atelier. It's a fantastic school. You have a captive audience. They can't go anywhere while you're sketching them. And they're usually asleep. The models are usually sleeping. So it's fantastic. At least a good hour and a half every day I was drawing. I was drawing the subway riders. And it was probably a great education, just in terms of being able to get character and whatnot. So I actually got a job teaching in the New York City Board of Ed at IS 145Q, and that's actually the room where I taught, room 323. So during that time, I started going for my MFA, Master of Fine Arts at the New York Academy of Art. And I encountered two of my professors, very profoundly affected me. Vincent Desiderio and Stephen Assell. Vincent Desiderio, probably because of his use of triptychs, and then also just for the fantastic technique. Stephen Assell, because he's a genius, essentially. Has anybody heard of Stephen Assell? Just curious. All right, doesn't matter. You should really look these two up, both of them. Stephen Assell is amazing. I mean, essentially, all he can do is paint. He can talk, but he's amazing. He's one of the greatest painters in the United States, I would say. In terms of like alla prima, quick. So at the Academy, I started doing cast drawings, cast paintings. I would do copying from life, the hidden symbol. I was also drawing models from life and painting portraits from life. This is my thesis project, and it's called The Journey. It's got a dual meaning. It's my spiritual journey and my artistic journey. So the artistic is because essentially I'm holding a stretcher bar, and the stretcher bar is, well, I guess everybody in this audience knows except for like 3 people. Basically you stretch the canvas or the linen over the stretcher bar as a support. And this landscape valley is a metaphor for the rest of my life. I guess I'm going to climb off this cliff and walk along that edge to get to the horizon. So general influences, when I was very young, about 7 or so, my mother gave me a Dali book, and I was instantly hooked. I don't know what grabbed me about him, maybe because I was kind of introverted and I was into my own little world, my own little drawing world. Soon after, Velázquez, and then after that, Vermeer. So these are the people I really, really follow, plus probably 100 other artists. After I got my MFA, I went to the, I was the head studio assistant for Sharon Sprung at the Art Students League of New York. She's a very, very well-known portrait painter. At this point, I was also teaching as an art teacher 20 hours a week, and I was also painting models, drawing models 20 hours a week. And you can talk to any New York City school teacher and they said, that's incredible. I was totally focused, and the good thing is I lived 5 minutes or 10 minutes from the job. I actually walked to work. So I painted models like these. I did commissions, Nativity as Seen by an Angel, St. Anthony. I also did portrait commissions such as these. I painted landscape. So landscape paintings are great. One of the reasons why is because they really set a certain limit for you. After that 3-hour window, essentially you're done because the sun has changed position, and if you continue, you're actually painting a different scene. And this actually supposedly brightens your color sense, and then you can bring that into the studio. It helps you see color better, I would say. This is Canyon. I also did still life paintings. This is flowers in a glass vase, and angel. I did these. These are kind of nice to do from life. They're kind of small, 5 by 7 or so, and they gave me this immediate gratification, done within a few days, as opposed to doing a multi-view painting, which you'll see. Thinking of Einstein, again from life, this is basically a skull that's thinking about Einstein. Why is he thinking about Einstein? Because he has a little Einstein statue stuck in his head. All right, so the idea behind multi-views, I don't call them polymorphic. I just came up with that name. I want to be a little different. So, essentially you have three views. You have the left view, the right view, the front view, and then you have all the other intermediate ones as well. This I did for the Board of Ed. It's called Fit for Life. And when I'm doing these, I'm always really concerned about the middle view. If the middle view doesn't have something going on, you know, some type of clever idea, I just won't do the painting. It just won't make any sense to invest that much time in it. So the idea behind this was, I've got a cafeteria scene on the left, the gym on the right, and it seems as if this broad jumper here is jumping out of the body of this kid in the cafeteria. Fit for life. This is a 9/11 study. Usually I don't do flat studies, but I did for this one. I was at the teaching not far away from the Trade Center when that happened. And I can remember that day like yesterday. You know, all of a sudden we heard a plane hit and said, okay, it's a small Cessna. Then another plane, and then, you know, all pandemonium broke out. I mean, kids were being dismissed left and right, and it's really quite a day. Anyway, so the story behind this is Father Michael Judge, who was one of the first casualties there. And you have the first responders here, and they're bringing him, lifting him up, and they're over here. It seems as if he's going up into the light, and here he's gone up through the light. So, this is my mother-in-law. She passed away a few years ago, so I wanted to do a tribute painting for her. She loved orchids, so I knew I wanted to do a multi-view. I just didn't want to do a flat painting. So I thought that why not have the orchids around her neck, almost as if it's in a wine lei, and then the last orchid would be by her nose, as if she's smelling it. Then there's other things going on here. You have this orchid leaf. It almost looks like a melted watch. I guess that's remnants from Dali. And then the butterfly. The butterfly is there, has a symbol of renewal, metamorphosis. And this is what it looks like. So, how do I come up with these concepts? I don't intentionally think of a multi-view idea. It just pops into my head in the most unexpected times. So essentially, it's a burst of an idea, and I've got to get it out. I've got sketchbooks everywhere. I've got a sketchbook with me right now. In case I think of an idea right now, I'll write it and draw it out. And I'm constantly drawing. Just ask my wife. I'm constantly drawing, constantly. It gets a little annoying at times. Over here, I thought, why don't I have a bouquet of flowers? And then on the right, why don't I have a waterfall? And then from the middle view, it would seem as if the bouquet of flowers was being watered by the waterfall. So essentially that's what happened, that's what's happening here. On the right, there's this little entity, and I don't know what to call it. I just want to keep it open-ended, you know, let you decide. A fairy, an angel, I don't know. You decide what it is. And there's water splashing down on her hand. And she's sitting on a rock, on a boulder, and from the middle view, the boulder is also embedded within a rose. So it's just these multiple things going on from the front. Pilot Mountain, again, came to me very fast. I've been there at Pilot Mountain. I was really, really impressed. What's nice is that it's just, you know, relatively close, you know, to get reference photos. So I thought, well, why not get the mountain in, almost as if it's a volcano. And then the flowers, bouquet of flowers on the right. So from the middle view, it seems almost as if the mountain is spewing out these flowers. Also, from the middle view, the vase has the stems. Within this vase, you actually have this area of the trees. So there's another meaning that within the vase, it almost looks like a terrarium as well. So more into the nitty-gritty here, techniques. To do a multi-view, I actually do a mock-up, a full-scale mock-up. I'll gesso the angles, you know, just one layer gesso, quick. And I'll paint it with golden open acrylics. If you don't know about those are amazing. They actually dry within about a day. It's essentially like using oil paint, but you don't have to worry about ventilation, and it's just, I don't know, it just gives me a lot more freedom for that initial idea. So this was the concept. Now the interesting thing is that as I go from the study to the final painting, I start making revisions. And the painting wouldn't work out if I said, okay, I'm going to hold fast to this idea of the study. Like I was trained in the academy, you know, you're going to paint that or else, you know. You're not going to deviate 1 inch. So I let myself maneuvering ability. So for example, the crescent moon became a full moon. I omitted this flower here. I placed a flower over here on the left. Also, the butterfly changed colors. The butterfly seems as if it's almost floating from the moon, like a balloon. And lastly, I was intrigued by Alice in Wonderland and the caterpillar on the mushroom, and I just thought, well, there's a mushroom, it needs something. Not a caterpillar, but a snail. I put a snail there. And it was right up against this deadline. I was saying, am I going to bite off more than I can chew here, so to speak? Here's another study on the top. So this is Hanging Rock, Chimney Rock State Park. This is actually it here. The scales of the people here are a lot smaller. So I just decided to put a larger person. And then, of course, I swipe that person with myself. It's amazing how you end up in your own painting sometimes. So, in terms of the study compared to the final painting, I ended up having it, well, even in the original version, the study, I wanted myself kind of like embedded in this large lily. It's sort of like opening up. Then also what I did, changes from the study to the final version. I united these two mountains, made it a larger mountain here, so that it seemed, again, that this large lily was blooming out of that mountain from the front. Also, there was a space here. I rearranged the lilies. I just didn't like the arrangement. And then there was this blank space, and I don't know, I was just thinking, what can I put there? Not a snail. How's about a turtle? So I put a turtle. I don't know. It seems to make the composition better. And this was very difficult. The perspective was, yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. So this is all those paintings strung together.